What's up, boys? In today's video, we're going to do a replay analysis from Nova. So he says, what to do, late game, cannons everywhere, can't do nothing. He says, can you help me when you have time? So, I am going to absolutely help you out with that. So, I watched this game a little bit. So, what you need to, you're not understanding, um, like the point of a TvP push, I think. So, we go in with our SCV Scout, okay, everything's cool, we're playing double gas. We are actually playing a build that I have a video on, which is 3 Reaper, 2 Hellion into Banshees. So, very cool build order choice. I really like this build. So, the first thing, right, is with your first Reaper, um, where's that guy at? Where's your first Reaper at? So, with your first Reaper, um, you are looking for proxy locations with it, which is cool, but you already SCV scouted your opponent, right? So you SCV scouted, you saw literally how late his Cybercore was because he played literally Zealot second gate and then Cybercore, right? So his Cybercore is super, super late, by the way. But you've already scouted with the SCV. So if you're going to SCV scout, you don't need to look for proxy locations with the Reaper. Now, if you were looking for um, the probe, I can respect that, right? You're trying to find the probe. That's cool. I respect that. So if that's why you were doing that, then fair enough. You can do that. But if you are going to use your Reaper like this, it's just probably better to not scout, honestly. But with that said, scouting is fine. So with our Reaper Hellion, we immediately go across the map, which is great. Alright. And with our first Reaper, we should have identified if he had a high ground wall here or if he had a high ground wall here. So with the first Reaper, we want to scout our opponent's tech. And Protoss only has two areas where they can build their tech because they're going to be making their tech off of two pylons. So one pylon should be here in the natural, and another pylon should be in the main, either Reaper walling or like Reaper walling the mineral line. And you can use your Reaper to scout one of those two and see what tech it is. Now notice how your opponent has a bunch of pylons and no tech. That's because he doesn't know a build order. So he will just get crushed by anything that is actually a real build. So you come in with the Reapers and you jump into the main, which is amazing. He has no battery in the main. And with these Hellions, I would love to actually just see them be right-clicked over here or right-clicked right here. And they might just die and do nothing, but it forces your opponent to actually deal with that threat, right? So you don't have to look at the Hellions you click in, but they do. And then at home, what are you doing? You're getting your Banshees, right? So with the with the Reapers, you come in, you see one Sentry, one Zealot, and a Force Field, and you leave. Why? There's no reason to. Go in, you see there's no battery, three Reapers, two shots a worker, right? Two shots a probe specifically, right? So 3 Reapers is a great number to come in here and then just double tap probes with, and you'll kill them very, very fast. 3 Reapers is very dangerous, right? But you just leave, which is not good, and you do not send the Hellions in, which is not good. And you don't get the damage you should have gotten. You should have gotten way more damage with this because your opponent does not have a battery in the main and he does not have a Reaper wall, okay? So he needs to have one of those two things. He needs a battery in his main mineral line, or he needs a Reaper wall right here at the jump up cliff to prevent the Reapers from jumping up and dealing a lot of damage, right? So that's it for the Reaper Hellion. Now, your Banshees were they didn't come out very fast. So if we look at the factory, right? So the factory is going to just finish. We produce a car very quickly, very nice. Second car very quickly, very good. Tech lab very quickly, very good. So we used the factory, right? All right. Now we're swapping. So this is the point in the build order where you're going to have to start to multitask, because as you do this swap, you're going to be going in with your Reaper Hellion, right? And you don't want it to be loose, you want it to be smooth, where you can go in with the Reaper Hellion and also get your Banshee in. and cloak on time. So if we look here, this is a really common problem is, okay, you're going in with your Reapers now, and look at how much delay is on this starport, right? So quite a while there, where we could have had that second Banshee out faster. So there's that. Um, and yeah, everything else is fine. We need an eBay. Did we forget an eBay? Yeah, so we need an eBay. Uh, like a lot earlier because we're gonna do our 730 push, and our 730 push is gonna be +1 stim and combat shield. So we're researching stim first, which is fine, but we don't have +1, right? And see how much we're floating? We're like floating gas and we're floating minerals. So what actually happened here? So we made our first Banshee. Wait. So this is our first Banshee. We're not producing a tank because we're floating a lot of gas. Why are we floating gas? This third gas looks pretty fast, by the way, which is okay. But you can see your resources and you're like, man, maybe I don't want a third gas that fast, right? So we make a single tank. So you're supposed to make 2 tanks with this. And you're actually, this barracks is supposed to swap with the starport. So you're gonna make 2 tanks with this, and barracks number 2 swaps with the starport. So there's that. And we're gonna go across the map with our Banshees, which is good. And while we micro the Banshees, we are not queuing up these medevacs, okay? So, the Banshees, sure, they can deal a lot of damage. They can scout the triple forge, which is ridiculous, by the way. But look at your starport here. You're not producing any medevacs, right? And it's 7:30. Okay, so Clem could hit this timing at 7:20, and I don't expect you of that. I do think, however, that you could have hit closer on time and with these medevacs done, as well as combat shield. Like, we don't even have combat shield, and we do have +1 only just starting. Actually, combat shield's about to be done, so I'll give it to you, but +1's just starting. It's like, we're supposed to probably have more bio with this, honestly, and we're supposed to have 2 tanks with this, and we're supposed to have 2 medevacs. So our 730 push is hitting late with 0 tanks or medevacs, and probably not enough bio. I'm not 100% sure on that. But these things are issues that we can't have. It also is not hitting with the right amount of upgrades. So, yeah, you need to make sure that you are doing this. Okay, now, with that said, okay, your opponent doesn't have splash, and your opponent needs splash to defend this push. So if we go to when you show up, the way you micro this is very questionable. So we burrow the mines, great. It would have been sick if we sent the Reaper Hellion into the natural. If we kept it alive all this time, we're going to do our push and send it into the natural, or even in the main. That might fuck our opponent up. Now, we've killed 8 workers, which is great. But this is the most important part of the game, right? You could have been hitting about 20 seconds ago, and you could have had +1 stim and combat shield, and you could have had 2 tanks and medevacs. So I can't emphasize that enough. Your army here is just not very good. And the objective of this push is we are getting our own third base now. And you see how this is our third base timing, and our opponent is like already finished and literally fully saturated. This is just how Terran versus Protoss works. So the objective is to, with this push, with the push you're doing, is to kill this third base and then go home and get 2-2 and ghost in a good army, and you're just going to be really far ahead because of your third base. So when you're microing this here, you want to stim and fight these stalkers. And if the stalkers blink away, guess what you're attacking? You're attacking the Nexus, you're attacking workers. And that's what you want to do. You want to kill this, and then you need to survive. So ideally, you don't lose your whole army when you kill this, right? And it would have been sick to have some tanks, like here. This tank spot is actually broken, by the way, because it reaches all the way up here. If you have tanks down here on this map. So if you would have had tanks, it would have been sick. And you could have killed this third base. If we just watch, like, why are we turning around here? Why? Let's go right onto the stalkers, force a blink to the left, and then we're going to attack the third base. But instead, what we're doing is it's like, okay, we deal half damage to a pylon. We're running back and forth, and We are going to the natural. This is not the game objective. The point of this push is not to win the game, it's to kill your opponent's third base. Now, could you have won the game with this push? The answer is absolutely, if you just had the right amount of units, because your opponent doesn't have splash. They need splash, otherwise they will die to this push. But just objectively speaking, you're not going after the third base. You don't have your core units, which are the medevac and the tanks. And yeah, so we're coming in, we're like targeting a pylon, like, okay, very cool. And to be fair, we're trading very well here, right? But we don't kill any workers, right? And our opponent is just on a third base. We don't have our third base even finished yet, right? And now there's a crazy Protoss count. They can even potentially come across the map and counterattack now. And it's just like very scary. And he even has the triple forge, which is gonna look really bad for you as the game goes on. Alright. So like we're even like long distance mining over here. I don't know what that is. We went for a drop, which is questionable. So if something doesn't go well in a game, right? If you lose your whole army like that and you're like, shit, I didn't kill the third base, I lost my whole army. That's a bad look. What you do is you go home, you turtle, and you try to get maxed out with a good army. Because no matter what the game state is, if you're behind, ahead or behind, if you max out with a good army and 2-2, you always have a chance, right? And what is a good army? It depends on what they have. If they have High Templar, you need Ghosts. If they have Colossus, you need Vikings, right? So, yeah, there's that. And, yeah, so we're getting a fourth base, which is cool. We would like to have some sensor towers now. And look, we're literally maxed out. We macroed way better than the Protoss, and we're going across the map. And you know what? This is a pretty good army. We don't have 2-2. We only have 2-1 because our upgrades were so late, right? And we also don't have any ghosts with this, right? So, that is questionable. Now, we know our opponent was going for Colossus because we saw the Robo Bay. And not only did we see the Robo Bay, we actually saw both Robos, right? So now we know that he has a lot of Colossus or Disruptor production, and what you would do versus that is get a second starport, which you did do. But you're maxed out and you don't have enough Vikings to compete with the Colossus. You need about 4 Colossus or 4 Vikings per Colossus. Homie has 4 Colossus, right? So you need a lot of Vikings. He has a 5th Colossus. And by the way, Protoss does not want to make more than 3 Colossus. So this is kind of overkill. Alright, so let's see how this fight goes. So we're going to come up. We see a bunch of cannons. We're going to siege. By the way, all these Widow Mines are bad. We have way too many Widow Mines. At this point in the game, we only want like 4 Widow Mines, max. And those Widow Mines aren't even going to be with our army. They're going to be scattered across the map for map control and map vision. But the reason why we don't make Widow Mines is mostly because it's hard to control with the army. In this army, you're supposed to have Ghosts and Vikings and Bio, and with tanks and mines. Like, that's really hard to control. So we don't have mines with that. And the reason we choose to exclude mines is because Zealots are very good against Bio in small numbers. But when Bio has a large Bio ball, like a lot of Bio, like what you have here, Zealots are not good anymore. They don't scale well into that. They're good against small groups of bio and bad against large groups of bio. So we don't actually need Widow Mines. By the way, you do not have enough Marines here. You have way too many Marauders and not enough Marines at all. This is not what you want. You need Marines. The Marine is where all of your damage comes from. So you want to think about it like, okay, I have Vikings and Ghosts. What are the point of those units? The Vikings kill the Colossus and the Ghosts render the High Templar useless. So what are you actually doing? You're trying to remove splash from your opponent's army, so that way you can then, with your Marines, just kill everything. All of the Stalkers, all of the Zealots, everything, because Marines deal a lot of damage. That's where all of your damage comes from, is the Marines. Okay? So let's see how this fight goes. So this is honestly probably not a very good angle for us to be attacking. But if we do lodge ourselves in this position as Terran, it's very annoying from the for the Protoss, and they have to do something about this. Right now, I think your army should beat his, because you literally only have Marauders and Vikings, which like beat Colossus Viking, or Colossus Stalker, I mean. So yeah, you end up like actually kind of killing his army. But just imagine if you had Ghosts there, all right, and then half the army loses it, or the army loses half of its life. Now let's see, did these mines actually do anything? So you can see he just blinked and dodged the mines. The mines didn't do anything. These mines aren't doing anything. This tank is really far forward in comparison to the bio. And it's like, okay, the mines didn't do anything. We're still massively up in supply, but we're down 3 upgrades because our opponent played Triple Forge, right? So that sucks. And we also forgot +1 at the start of the game. So that sucks. We're down 3 upgrades, but we're up a lot of supply. Now just imagine if we had Ghosts. We EMP this whole army, and then it just dies, like dramatically. Even though you didn't have a good army, and you had way too many Marauders, he just happened to make units that literally get hard countered by Marauders. And the reason you didn't win is because you didn't have Ghosts, and you were down 3 upgrades. Right? And there's also like a lot of static defense here. That Colossus survives on 2 hit points, which is pretty funny. Alright. Oh, we actually come in and come back for vengeance and kill the Colossus. Okay, so now if we look at the state of the game, you are still winning. You are up in workers, okay? And you just are down in upgrades, but you're gonna catch up in upgrades very soon. You should have 3-3 on the way here. We have, oh no, Novum, we cannot be getting vehicle weapons here. Vehicle weapons are really bad. We need ship weapons versus Protoss. We need +2 ship weapons versus Protoss and lib range. Those things are very, very good because they 2-shot stalkers. Liberators with +2 2-shot stalkers. So we're getting +2 our attack here, when in reality what we would rather have is +2 ship weapons, and we would have a fusion core with lib range. And that is the best army. So the best army in Terran versus Protoss is Ghost Viking Liberator. That is the best army that you can make. So yeah, we are making like way too many Marauders and no Ghosts. Like, I don't know if somebody told you that you don't need to make Ghosts to win. But you need to make Ghosts. It's a 16-minute game, okay? You need to make Ghosts. This is not a good army at all. We do not need that many Marauders. We need Ghosts. And what we can do is, like, look at this army. If we just had Ghosts, bro, and this amount of Vikings even, maybe a little bit more Vikings, but this amount of Vikings is good, and we had Ghosts, and we just EMP'd this and stimmed with the rest of our Marine and Marauder, we would absolutely just own this fight, because he has Archons, right? Archons suck, and he has too many Colossus. Does he have Storm? He does have Storm, so you'd render the Storm useless, okay? So what you want to be doing going into the late game is the Liberators, okay? So when you have a very good Viking count, where you're comfortable with that, then you start producing Liberators, and with lib range, you set up positions that Protoss needs Tempest to break. Protoss cannot beat Liberators without Tempest. And honestly, even then, if you have a really good Viking count, the Tempests are gonna die, right? So with that out of the way, we get maxed out again. It looks like we do have Ghosts, we just don't have enough. We get stormed and like lose our whole army, right? And the reason we lost that fight is just because we didn't make a good enough army, dude. Right? We just did not make a good enough army. That's the only reason why. Yeah, now if you the game is gonna be really hard now. We are up in workers, but playing late game TvP is really hard. Your opponent should have like a Dark Shrine and potentially sending like Dark Templars into your base. It's gonna get really messy, and he has cannons everywhere. So what you want to do in this position is you need to have a missile turret and a liberator and a mine around each base to make sure Dark Templar don't kill you. And then you need to, with your main army, you want to posture and deny future bases, and somewhere you need to find a nuke. So right here, if you can get a nuke like right here, you're gonna kill a lot of this static defense and be able to stem in and kill this position, right? So you're gonna have to posture with your army, and somewhere in the game you're gonna need to find a nuke, and then break the static defense. Or you can just attack this base because there's no static defense here. Okay, so key takeaway points. You need to work on your 730 push. You need to understand the point of the 730 push. You need to work on the army that you make. So you need to get ghosts a lot faster. You need to research ship weapons and liberator range instead of a vehicle armor or vehicle attack. Vehicle attack is very bad versus Protoss. And yeah, you need to make 2 tanks versus Protoss. You need to rewatch the video and relearn how to set up the production because you were down a tank. And you need to make sure you get your medevacs on time. So those are the things I would say. And notice how I'm just talking about the mid game. And it's like, why am I so focused on the early game? Like how you can use the Reapers, how you can use your push. And it's because your opponent played a horrible build order with a super late Cybercore. 3 forges. He played triple forge. And he still won even though he didn't have any splash versus your push. So get the push down to where you can kill people like this, and then you can start thinking about going into the late game versus Protoss. Now with that said, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.